It has got to be really tough to be a Nebraska fan. Not only did you guys lose a lot of games this year, but you guys set the record for most one-possession losses in college football history. And as many have said, Nebraska is the best 3-win team in college football history, and I'd have to agree with that. Unfortunately, year 4 under Scott Frost did not go according to plan, and while the team was not as bad as the record indicated, not a lot of progress can be made in the win department for Frost, and he's going to have to really prove it next year. Today's video will be the first in my series of team wrap-ups. I plan on going through every Power 5 school, talking about the preseason expectations, how the season went, who the best players were, what went right or wrong, and the outlook for 2022. So if you want to support this style of video or this series, be sure to check out my playlist, which will be in a pinned comment down below. Be sure to check out all those videos. If you're a fan of this certain school, let me know your thoughts on this video, and also don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. Now let's get started and talk about Nebraska football. I know some people get annoyed with Nebraska football, but I really want to see Scott Frost succeed. No coach should have to suffer that many close losses in one year, yet alone the players. So, going into 2021, we first need to talk about the preseason expectations. Adrian Martinez was back and expected to be the starter, and for the most part, that is how it went all year. In my eyes, Nebraska really didn't have a true backup quarterback, as Logan Smothers was obviously the most talented and had the most potential, but he had barely played, and I didn't exactly trust him when he got in the game. That is why we saw a whole lot of Martinez this year. So when we take a look at the running back spot, Marquise Stepp had transferred in from USC, and he was expected to be the starter. How did that end up going? Well, he finished 4th on the depth chart, and he was the 3rd running back. Ramir Johnson led the team with 495 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jaquez Yant was 2nd on the team in rushing yards, and overall, Martinez had the most yards and touchdowns. Gabe Ervin actually was the Week 1 starter against Illinois, so both him and Stepp really fell in the depth chart, and even Sevion Morrison had more touchdowns than those two. We couldn't have been more wrong in how that went. At wide receiver, the projected starters were Xavier Betts, Samori Toure, and Alante Brown. Well, I'd say we got 2 of the 3 right. Samori Toure transferred in from Montana, and he had a spectacular year for the Huskers this year. He finished with 40 catches for 831 yards and 5 touchdowns. He definitely had one of the better seasons in Nebraska football history at receiver, but he was not the only option. Xavier Betts finished 4th on the team, but did not end up catching a touchdown like I thought. Alante Brown, on the other hand, literally only had 3 catches for 30 yards. So who else stepped up? Well, Austin Allen had a great year at tight end. Omar Manning started to put some of that potential together, and both Levi Falk and Oliver Martin also got a chance to see the field. While we didn't get as much out of the passing game as I would have liked them to, I'd say it was pretty average. In terms of who ended up leading the defense, Nick Heinrich led the team with 91 tackles, and Luke Reimer was 2nd with 83. Both JoJo Nelson and Garrett Nelson also played well, and Cam Taylor-Britt had a pretty good season. The defensive line was not able to get a lot of pressure, as DeAndre Thomas ended up being the sack leader for the team, and most of the sacks came from the linebackers. Overall, the defense played pretty tough in 2021, and I don't have a lot of complaints with them, as they were pretty much kept in every game, and it was more on the offense. When we take a look at Nebraska's schedule, going into the year, I had it a little bit different. I had them beating Illinois, Fordham, Buffalo, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Purdue. That right there got them to 6 wins, and I could not have been more wrong on some of those games. I was in attendance for their Week 1 game against Illinois, and Nebraska seemingly controlled it all along, but they ended up blowing it to a backup quarterback by the name of Art Sikowski, and Adrian Martinez's last-ditch effort ended up falling incomplete, and they lost 30-22 and gave Brett Bielema his first win in his home opener. In Week 2 and 3, they killed Fordham and Buffalo, so I got that right, but Week 4 against Oklahoma kind of shocked a lot of people. A couple balls didn't bounce their way, but they were actually in the game on the road against the number 3 Sooners, and no one could have seen that coming. I ended up predicting a loss in that game, which happened, but they played a lot better than anyone could have expected, and I'd say we were all wrong about their performance in that one. Week 5 is another interesting case. They were beating Michigan State for the most part on the road, but after a late Jaden Reed punt return, a miscue in overtime, and a last-second field goal, Michigan State survived 23-20, and the season narrative around the Spartans would have been a lot different had they hung on to that game. From there, Michigan State ended up becoming a top 5 team and even was selected to the playoff, and none of that would have happened if Nebraska could have held on, and this is one of those games that they really needed to win. The Northwestern game I predicted to be a W for Nebraska, and that ended up happening as they won 56-7. At this point, they are 3-3 with a 1-2 mark in the Big Ten, and then all the nonsense started to happen. They played well in a nationally televised game against Michigan, and it looked like they were going to win, but Martinez had a late fumble, and Michigan kicked the game-winning field goal, and Nebraska lost 32-29, and this was horribly heartbreaking. They went on the road to Minnesota, and once again, they lost by one possession. They lost 30-23, and you can't make this up. Against Purdue, Nebraska actually started out strong, but for the most part, the Boilermakers took complete control in the second half, and they did have a late touchdown, and the game was honestly not as close as the score indicates, but it was a one-possession loss. They're now 3-6, and they'd have to win their last 3 games if they wanted to go to a bowl game. The first game came against Ohio State at home, and with how the Buckeyes have played this year, especially recently against Michigan State, this makes Nebraska look pretty good. The Huskers were actually in this game until the end, but Ohio State ended up winning 26-17, and they dropped to 1-6 in the Big Ten. Then, on November 20th, they went on the road and played number 15 Wisconsin, and once again, Nebraska was in this game, but lost 35-28 and dropped to 3-8. Then we get to yesterday/today, depending on when you watch this video. They played against number 16 Iowa, and they were winning the entire game, and they're up 21-9 in the fourth quarter. They had a blocked punt, a safety, some stalled drives, and all of a sudden the defense gave out, and Iowa ended up winning 28-21 as Martinez got injured, and Logan Smothers threw a late pick, and legitimately no one had any idea who it was going to. So yeah, Nebraska finished with a 3-9 record with a 1-8 mark in the Big Ten, and that is different from my 6-6 prediction. The Huskers were competitive in every single game they played this year, and I just cannot believe how unlucky they got. They ended up playing in 9 games that were pretty much one possession, and to lose all 9 is unlucky to say the least. So when we take a look at how this team ranked, in terms of points per game, they scored 28.5, which was 64th out of 130 teams. What is so unbelievably weird about this is they only gave up 22 points per game, which ranked 39th in the FBS. Let me repeat that. They averaged 29 points per game, only gave up 22, and managed to go 3-9. That is how unbelievably unlucky Scott Frost and the Huskers went in 2021, and that's really actually sad. Their strength of schedule was the 5th hardest in the country, and overall, it seemed the team was solid in most areas, and this was actually Scott Frost's best team by far, but once again, the close games are what killed them. I would also say that the quarterback position ended up holding them back a little bit, as much as I like Adrian Martinez, I think Frost has been way too loyal to him, and a major problem is they really haven't had anyone to push him for the starting job, and Frost never even lets the backup play. That will change though, as Martinez is likely going to graduate, and there is really no reason for him to come back. I know he has an extra year, but we don't need to see that happen. It's time to move on to the next era of Nebraska football, and I honestly think Frost is going to go after a quarterback in the transfer portal. If things stand right now, Logan Smothers is going to be the next starting quarterback, and while I think he will develop and get better over the offseason, I do have my concerns about him, but I am also excited for him. One thing that is pretty concerning is that Nebraska's 2022 class currently ranks 70th in the country and 14th in the Big Ten. That is not going to get it done if you're a Nebraska fan, and right now they don't even have a single 4-star recruit signed. To be fair, the class is extremely small as they only have 9 guys committed, but Scott Frost and that coaching staff have a lot to figure out and a lot of guys they need to sign. In terms of the coaching staff and job security themselves, for the most part, no one did a terrible job, so I do believe most of the coaching staff will return, and as we all know, Scott Frost will be back for year 5. When we look towards the future, I am cautiously optimistic about Nebraska. While it's hard to say this team was not competitive this year, they couldn't win a single game, and the 3-9 record is not going to lie. When you lose 9 close games like that and make history, you typically don't think it's going to happen again, so I do believe Nebraska is going to have somewhat of a bounce back year, and I do believe Frost will make a bowl game in 2022. Here's the problem though, they'll have to find a new quarterback, they still don't have a go-to running back, Samori Toure is going to go to the NFL, and they're going to lose a decent amount of starters from that defense. I really have no clue what to expect from them next year, but they're definitely going to win more than 0 close games. As a college football fan base, we will say goodbye to Adrian Martinez and the 1-year rental of Samori Toure. Scott Frost continues to make Nebraska football into a meme, and it was almost too predictable that they would make history for losing that many close games. Overall, though, Nebraska was a lot more fun to watch this year than they have been any other year, and there is some reason for hope, but also some reason to be worried. What do you guys think, though? If you're a Nebraska fan, let me know what went wrong this year, what needs to change, your thoughts on today's video, and any sort of comment you have moving forwards. I want to make these season wrap-up videos as good as possible, so let me know what I can do better, what I can add in my next one, and how I can improve. Also, let me know which team I should take a look at in my next video, and we're going to be doing this until February, so get ready to have a lot of these, and check out my playlist, which is in the pinned comment section, to check out all the teams I've done so far. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.